Jam nitty gritty, you're listening to the boy from the big bad city. This is Jam High. This is Jam High.
Welcome to Who's Hot with your host, Wil Chung.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the latest UKOCR Who's Hot podcast. My name is Wil Chung. I'm the presenter, and I'm here, as always, with my two co-hosts, my two elite racers. First of all, Chris Shipley. Chris, how are you doing?
I am not so bad, Will. How are you? It's been a little while since we've been here.
It has been a while, hasn't it? But I'm looking forward to seeing you and Becky next week. And we also have Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hi, Will. How's it going?
Yeah, very good, thank you. So we're here, the three of us are here. We are here to preview the British OCR 3K Championships. And to help us talk about the 3K Championships, we've got the RD of the day. We've got Dave Peters from Rumble Fitness. Dave, hello and welcome to the podcast.
All right, thank you for bringing me on. I always enjoy these. It's always nice to sort of preview it.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, and thank you for jumping on. And as we've kind of already mentioned, we don't know too much, so you've got a lot of talking to do. So the 3K British OCR Championship is Sunday, the 12th of November, over in Forders Gym, just south of Birmingham, starting at 9 o'clock. We've got a number of waves. We've got the Elite Championship wave, we've got the AG wave, and we've got the open wave later on. Very quickly, it's £45 plus booking fee. If you haven't already and you want to, you can join in the fun. Just go to britishobstacle.org to go get your ticket. Dave, let's talk about the 3K. Over to you.
Where do I start? So, I mean, it's 3 kilometers. So the distance is set, obviously. Yeah, it's good actually. We've got a really nice balanced course. So it's 3 kilometers in distance. It's 21 obstacles, and it's what we've done is we've created a course which is really well balanced. So between rig, prime, and kind of more your mandatory style as well. I wanted to kind of create a course which is really working between all skill sets. So there's a balanced section there. We've got strength, we've got prime, you've got agility, balance, rig. So yeah, it's a really nicely sort of split course. And we've gone for about a 50-50 split on single attempt and mandatory as well. So it's kind of as basic, as balanced as we can make it. And it will allow for all different types of racers to have their moments in the race where they kind of excel. And probably all of them will have their battles as well. So I'm really excited to see it happen, actually. It's been a long time coming. So it's exciting now that we're in the sort of the run up to it.
Nice. And it's 3K, it's at Forders Gym. Is it, what's the, before we go into the obstacles and we'll bring in Becky and Chris in a minute, what's the terrain like? Is it flat? I've heard a lot of AstroTurf. Is it on kind of tarmac? What's going on course itself? Yeah,
so the way that Forders has kind of designed their obstacle setup is they've got lots going on in the future. So there will be like fuller courses, bigger courses where the terrain is more varied. But for the 3K, we wanted something which can be semi-permanent / sort of permanent course. And we wanted something that can be used all year round. So we've gone for an all-weather kind of surface. So 2/3 of the course is all-weather AstroTurf. So rubber crumb AstroTurf, for a good sort of portion up to obstacle 14, basically on the map. So when the rule book is in your hand, you'll be able to see where that is. But that's a good 2/3 of the course, which is Astro. And then the final third is more of your typical grass and mud, basically. So 2/3 all weather, 1/3 grass terrain. There's some elevation. It's pretty flat. It's very fast. With the 3K obviously lends itself to fast racing. So it's a pretty fast course, pretty flat course all in all. There is some mounds and some up and overs to get working with. There's one long hill between 14 and 15, obstacle 14 and obstacle 15. So it's one long run.
I wondered why that was a long run there. There had to be something
Yeah. It's not by mistake. It's a Strava segment for those of you that like Strava as well. So there's a bit of excitement in that.
Nice.
No one needs to run that hard though, because currently numero uno belongs to me. So don't go racing hard. Leave that one for me. At least give me something. But yeah, so that's a long sort of climb. It's not steep, but it's kind of that continuous long drag constantly up. And obviously you've come straight off of a series of obstacles there as well. So the runners will love it. The obstacle guys, maybe not so much. And the strength guys, probably even less. But it's, like I say, there's something in there for everybody. So It's definitely one of the courses that I would really strongly advise people analyze the map. I've tried to create plenty of information in the rulebook from that perspective so that you can really get your head into where you're going to see things coming up and what type of obstacles you can see, so you can plan your race. And if you can get down to obviously to see any of the waves before you, if you're lucky, then do so. It's always nice to support others anyway, obviously, on the course.
I love that. Thank you for all the information, my brain. Thanks.
Yeah, overload now. You got to overcomplicate it for yourself.
So 21 obstacles over 3K. That's obstacle dense. Change of terrain, which is quite nice. You know, maybe you don't need to worry about mud claws or anything like that. The rulebook which we're talking about and we've just seen now is going to be released before the time of this podcast is out. 3rd, possibly the 4th of November, but it's going to be out quite soon. Do you want to just go through maybe not all of the obstacles, but I guess maybe some highlight obstacles you want to talk about? Anything that you know is I guess that more stand out, and then Becky, if you just Dave talked about them too.
Yeah, sounds good to me. So being at Forders Gym, so anyone that doesn't know it, they're heavily involved in their fitness racing. So being at Forders, has got to be some personality from Forders involved, hence why there's a good strength section on this course. Your first obstacle is actually a strength section as well, so you'll be running straight into sandbags. Sandbags are quite heavy, so 30 kilo for men, 20 kilo for women. There's lighter versions for power and for junior waves, but then you'll take those with you on the over and unders. So the first 3 obstacles is all together. So the sandbags are actually taken on the run and then over and under the beams as well. Yeah, I know.
Evil.
It's a bit different, and that's what we kind of wanted. We wanted to really test, like I say, we wanted to create a real balance to this course and really test people. So the over and unders and the under and overs are with the bag, and then that leads into a little bit of a run across some mounds into Forders Gym itself. We wanted to give everyone a taste of Forders and its environment. It's quite nice actually, because there's a Deca of Fit event. I think it's Deca Strong event happening at the same time. So we're going to send you into that. So there'll be lots of vibes, lots of music. There's a DJ playing in there. So there's going to be a good atmosphere in there. And there's good spectating viewpoints as well up on the raised platforms. And that's where you kind of come across your first unique one. So we've gone a bit old school in the design. We've created an obstacle over a bridge. So there's a rope climb up and over a bridge with a descent down a cargo net. And then it leads into another strength section at the top of Forders Gym. So it's a bit of sled pulling and dragging and the tyre flips as well. So Forders becomes a central part of the course very early on. And then you hit out onto a winding track with a balance beam. It's a good chance to get some open up your stride a little bit. Lots of change in direction. Balance beam in the middle. Probably the single thing that stands out on this course is the balance beam is a single attempt obstacle. Quite often balance beams are multiple attempts, whereas it's a single attempt at the 3K champs. So you're going to have to make sure that you can I wouldn't say take your time necessarily, but you have to apply yourself properly. Don't just throw yourself across. It's a balance beam which rolls up and then down a slope with a gap between the two as well. So it is a real tested obstacle. It's not a case of kind of just running across a beam, you know. Reasonably long. I think it's 6.5, 7 meters. I think it covers, and it's, like I said, there's a gap between the two at the raised point as well. You'll see that on the images on the rule book anyway, so you'll be able to make that out. That then hits a track. So there's a central track. So when you look at the rule map, you'll see there's like a central field where obstacles 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 all circle it. So this course, we've really done it from a spectator's point of view as well. We really feel like the spectators are important. And so we've tried to create a course where spectating is part of the race. So you can enter into the field and you will literally see almost a gauntlet, I suppose, which is what you tend to see on these 3K courses, right? Where you see lots of obstacles sort of backing up. So once you hit this track, you'll see this is where the main content of your rigs and your single attempt obstacles hit. So you go into a Z wall. It's a bit longer than a Spartan style. So the boards are longer. It's still the Z shape and still blocks, but the biggest difference is the blocks are a little smaller than the Spartan blocks, and they're possibly a little wider as well. And then you cannot use any of the uprights or any of the corners or any of the framing. So it's literally blocks only,
nice.
all the way around. So it is truly, yes, it's a true sort of traverse, if you like. There's none of the hanging off the corners or the frames or any of that stuff. They're round beams anyway, so they're a little harder to hang off of even if you tried anyway. So it's done on purpose like that. We really feel like we want to see people using the blocks as they're designed to be used. That's when you then start getting into the technical obstacles really. So that's number 11 is high rig. So it's actually a Rumble sponsored high rig. So anyone who knows Rumble, you know that there's going to be an element of skill with rope involved. And you may have seen we've already been putting some little spoilers out, tasters, sort of teaser videos. So the obstacle starts with monkey bars, comes into rope, and then you'll need to do a rope lock underneath a barrier towards another rope on the other side of the barrier. You can't use the barrier actively, so you can't use your hands to pull yourself through or use it to support yourself in any way. If you bump into it, that's fine, but you're not able to actually use it as a attachment effectively. And then you'll hit a few obstacle attachments after that before the belt. Then you hit your low rig, which is your British Obstacle Sports low rig. So plenty of mixed attachments, lots of footholds. I think I made a point on the previous podcast when I came on with it with Alan about this, that we've really kind of looked at this. We've looked at the weather, we've looked at the time of year, and we've tried to make sure that we're reasonable in what we're asking people. So probably the most difficult task with the low rig is the length of it. It's 12.5 meters, I believe, of low rig, which is pretty long. So the length is probably the biggest challenge. There's plenty of footholds on it. We've been fair. There's plenty of footholds, plenty of ways to be able to lock into it. But it is, it is a challenge. It's long. It's likely to be damp, cooler in temperature. So, but it's going to test your skill and ability. You can expect bars, rings, attachments to swing through on, lock off of. There'll be some rope as well to lock onto. And then you hit the swing over, which if you've been to Rumble regularly, you've probably seen it, but you see less of it in the UK. You see more of it in the foreign racing. So in Europe, effectively, you've got a high beam that you have to climb up and over. Usually a rope, you climb a rope and up and over the beam, but it's not a rope, it's a strap that you're using. So it's a 3 meter round sling that you're using to climb up and over. So it's a little bit different.
That's harder.
It is a bit harder, but it's doable in the same method, if you like. So it's a little bit more tricky than a rope, but you can do it the same way. So everybody should be able to have a good crack at it. But again, if you're not used to that, it's all about getting yourself into those good positions. Definitely worth practicing somewhere if you've got an opportunity before the championships, if you're not comfortable in them positions or familiar with them. And then you hit a rope traverse across the water to enter into that field that I discussed earlier on. So you've got a real sort of segment there where technically, if you're a technical racer, you're going to really enjoy it, and it's going to be a place where you can really make up some time. Those sort of strength athletes and runners, maybe that's where the battle is going to be had, I would suggest.
And that section's got a lot of single attempts as well.
Yeah. So effectively, that whole section is on that back side. So from 10 through to 14 is single attempt.
So we'll get into what that means in terms of penalties, etc. after you've been to the obstacles, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people will be behind you if they're not successful. No.
So, we might as well touch on it now, aren't we? So it's a band system. So it's a band system race. So we'll have three bands for men, 4 bands for women, with the penalty loops at the end, single attempts. And can't do it, you fail it, that's where you would lose a band. Obviously, if you're successful, you move on to the next section. So there's no retries, no queuing, and it's worth taking a moment, catching your breath, and making sure you're ready to attack the obstacle effectively in that section. Definitely. Obviously, there'd be lots of spectators, lots of people viewing it in that section as well, so it's accessible to the spectators via the spectating routes. It's where the technical challenge is.
And then you regain your bands if you lose them then at the end, not at the obstacle.
Yeah, so we'll do a penalty loop at the end. So literally after obstacle 21, which is a tyre drag at the end of the course, after obstacle 21, you'll cross over a stream, ready for a sprint finish effectively. So just after obstacle 21, there'll be an official with a penalty loop there. Penalty loop is a 300 meter run with crawls, believe it's 4 crawls on it for each.
Long.
It's 300 meters, and you'll get your band per penalty loop to retread.
And you'll be able to see these people doing the penalties then, I take it?
Yes, you will, mate. Yeah. So the penalty loop isn't actually marked on the map, but it effectively runs from 21 to 17 on the map. When you get the maps and you can have a look at them, it runs from 21 to 17, but on the inside line, basically. So there's a separate marked route for it. But it runs the distance of 21 to 17. So everybody will be able to pretty much see. And there is also, and again, you'll see this when you look at the rule books, that there is also still a sprint finish when those penalties are done.
Nice.
So you'll come off the penalty loop and you'll have around 150 meters of running still to do to finish the line, to cross the finish line. So the penalty loop is after all obstacles, but it's not directly at the finish line, and it's not penalties at obstacles. So it is a penalty loop at the end.
Gives you a chance to try and run down the people that may have taken that place off you on the penalty loop. So yeah, that's really interesting. Should be a good fight till the finish.
Exciting.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah. I'm keen. I like sprint finish. You know, I like to see people battle to the line, and I like to see penalties that are tough and a challenge and fair, still not out the race. You know, you still got a chance, and then you still have that chance to be able to redeem it at the finish line. You know, it's not race over because you got a penalty. It's race on if you've got one. You know.
Yeah.
And because of the size of the race, also, you know, we might have to compare times. So you want to encourage a sprint finish to the line so that everyone can get the fastest time they possibly can. And if you're not racing head to head among all waves as such.
Absolutely. Yeah, you literally will need to, you need to work to the end, get your head down, because it isn't over at the penalty loop. There's still 150 meters. So you can't be there sort of dragging your heels, upset by the fact that you're doing a penalty. You know, there's still racing to be done after that penalty loop. So yeah, absolutely. And the sprint finish, you hit the Astro, so it's fast.
Nice.
Oh, mate.
That's all right. Go on.
That's right.
You give up on that.
Yeah, timing's all out.
Fair enough. Yeah, so the sprint finish is on Astro as well. So you really will get up some speed to the finish line. It's race timing chipped. So there is no kind of it's an efficient timing system effectively. It's timing chipped the whole way around. It's been done proper. It's had a lot of thought, a lot of time. Been planning this for over a year, so there's a lot of time gone into it.
It looks fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited. So there's a great balance and looks really exciting. I love the fact that it's sort of like spectator friendly and a place where the stuff's going on, where there's different people who might not have seen this kind of racing before and things that we won't have seen before potentially as well. So I think it's a really nice way to like share the money.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, I'm really keen on that. I think it's really important. You know, spectating is just as much of a part of our sport as partaking. You know, and it's where you're going to drag someone who's got interest but is too scared to do it. You know, they're going to watch it and maybe get excited by it and therefore step over that line. Whereas if they don't see the race, they got no chance of doing that. You know, so. So I've created in the rule book there is a spectators map as well, so it's nice and clear, and on that map as well we've also detailed the obstacles that they'll be able to see from those points, and you'll be able to see on there that it is the majority of the obstacles that you can see as well. There's very little of the course that you can't. I mean, you can see the whole course from the spectating areas just from a distance, but the vast majority of the course is directly viewable from sort of 10 meters away. So you're going to get some good footage of your friends. You're going to get to see lots of racing, and it's exciting because you're going to be able to follow the race all the way around.
Yeah, it adds another element to it as well.
Just go back a second, Dave, and we'll come back to you in a second, Chris. We didn't actually finish off the course, so we got to 15. I think.
Yeah, we
then
did.
We started to talk about penalties, so let's just finish it off because there's a couple of the single attempt obstacles to go as well.
Yeah, so like I say, you hit the field and you run up the field. So nice long drag up the hill, and then at the top you hit some pipes where you're going to crawl up some pipes effectively. There's a tire, not a tire, there's a rope in there, so you can pull yourself through the pipe up to the top, and then there's a really low crawl. So it's a crawl that we
barbed wire.
Sorry,
barbed wire.
No.
Could you imagine?
There's no barbed wire. Yeah, exactly. It's a cage crawl, so it is enclosed. So it's a caged crawl. You're underneath. It's quite low, so we're forcing leopard crawling, effectively crawling on your belly. You'll struggle to roll. You will have to crawl. It is a hard work. It's a big effort. It's about 20 meters long as well. So yeah, it's a decent crawl. Again, you know, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to put something in as an obstacle, it needs to be an obstacle. You know, I don't want to see a crawl that's 2 meters long, you know, or a crawl that you can get underneath and then stand up and run through with your net over your back. You know, I want to see if it's a crawl obstacle, you've got to crawl it. If it's a, you know, if it's a climb obstacle, you've got to climb it. So this is it's a long crawl. It's under a cage, so you can't really roll. There is an element of claustrophobia to it, to a certain degree.
Like a dark cage, or you can see.
It's not dark. There is light. Yeah, no, there is light. It's darker because it's slightly enclosed. It's camouflage net basically over the top of the cage, but there is light that gets through. And it's 20 meters, and it's partially level and partially downhill. So it's got some interest to it, put it that way. It's a crawl that's worth doing, and it's a proper obstacle. It's going to exhaust you. You know, it's a tiring obstacle. It's not something that's, you know, sometimes you put a crawl into a race and you think it's kind of almost irrelevant to a certain degree. This is
top of the hill.
Yeah. So basically, you go up the hill, then you climb up the tubes. So how can I explain it? If you've done nuts before and you've got the tubes out of the water, with the ropes in, it's very similar to that, but it's underground. So you're climbing up a hill underground, and then you're crawling down a hill to get back out again. And then so then you run down. You've got an inverted wall, and then you hit the Toros rig, which is it's unique, I believe, in this sort of this country. I haven't seen too many of them. So it starts level, so it's low rig, starts level, then it climbs up, then it goes level across, then down, and then level again. So it's low, high, low. And again, it's about 15 meters long. So it's a good length, challenging with the height change. And it's a Toros rig. So you can imagine what sort of attachments you're going to come across when you get there.
Grippy ones, I suppose.
After our muddy hands, perfect. Yeah.
Pretty grippy. Yeah, pretty grippy. You want to try and save your hands on the crawl at the top of the hill. You want to try and save that as much as possible. Obviously, to bear that in mind, it's Toros, so it's grippy enough. But yeah, definitely something to consider in your race strategy. And it's the change in heights which will effectively get people. We have two setups. So I've done two setups for it, and they're very, very similar. But there's a couple of adjustments I've made for extreme weather conditions. So if we do find it particularly cold or really, really wet, then we've got a slightly adapted route that we're going to use to the setup, but it won't change the rig effectively in terms of what people need to know about it, but it will change in terms of the accessibility in extreme weather. And
is it going to be like a Toros actual structure like they did at your World Championships? It's built ourselves just with Toros attachments.
Yeah, it's Toros attachments, and it's custom built by Forders in the Forder style. So it's round posts and wooden beam with scaff poles basically that we attach to. But it's all Toros, all Toros elements, if you like.
Nice.
And then that leads into the giant rope wall. So the giant rope wall is a 16-foot high wall, ramped wall. You kind of use them. So you've seen them on team climbs, things like that in other races, with a rope all the way down. Again, we've got variations on weather conditions in terms of length of rope, etc. So it will be accessible to everybody, but it's a 16-foot wall, right? So it's going to be a challenge for the end of the course. It's a real spectacle. It's right back near the end of the course as well. So you're going to be tired by the time you get there. The area between obstacles 18, 19, 20, and 21 on the map, the sort of little central sort of rectangle, if you like, is really, really muddy. So your feet are very likely to be in mud. And I say that because the amount of rain we've had over the last week or two is just drained so heavily into that area that it's very bog-like at the minute. So depending on how the weather goes over the next 10 days, will be interesting to see
that just makes
how muddy it is.
Finish even more epic, where we have mud and water flying off it because we're going so far.
That's it, yeah. And it's also that point of like, you don't really hit the mud until all of the rigs are over. So what we try to do with this is we don't want to shy away from what we have in this country, and we have mud at the end of the day, and it is a big part of our racing, but what we don't want to do is have it impact on our racing. So in a negative way, we don't want people slipping and falling off of rigs because they're caked in mud, but we don't want to neglect having mud in our races or the challenge of it on hard running or hill running or sprinting because you've got muddy feet, wet feet. And also it's a pretty special area. You'll understand when you're on site. It's a pretty special area to be used for this race, and then also for the future as well. But it was a big factor in our design, of course, and changing of the route direction and stuff. Because obviously, if we sent you through that early on, then it could have easily impacted the race negatively. And so we've used it in the right manner, and we've used it as the obstacle, if you like, in itself, in its challenge. But we've put it in a sensible place. But it will make a difference when it comes to things like the rope wall. You will have muddy feet, no doubt about it. That will add to the challenge without a shadow of a doubt. And from there, it's basically a finish.
Shower?
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure on that one. Okay. You'll be all right. You'll be clean until the knees. So just be the knees down.
Okay.
And so from there you've got your climbs over the mud mound, which is a pretty decent sized mud mound to climb up and over, and then the tire drag is heavy. It's a heavy tire drag, no doubt about it. So and there you have it, sprint finish, all penalties.
Caked in mud, lovely.
Gonna be hard work. This is gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough, yeah. It's gonna be a tough 3K. We've had some test runs done. I will also test run again a couple times before Sunday. So we have had some test runs. We've had a time of 21 minutes from an elite runner.
Wow.
So that gives you some idea. That was quick, but I do think there's a 19-20 minutes in it for a top level 3K athlete. I think there's a 19-20 minutes in it in the men's race, and probably 23-25 in the women's. I'd say maybe quicker. I might be doing them disservice. It may be a bit quicker, but yeah, we've had a fastest time currently of around 21 minutes. So yeah, it's fast, but it's also that's a long time, right, for a 3K. So it's definitely going to be a challenge. And there's a little bit of everything in there. If you're a strength athlete, you're going to love the strength sections compared to some of the others. If you're a runner, there's a couple of good sections in there to really get your foot down and run hard. And if you're a technical racer, then you can see from the course map exactly where your race is going to be run.
So there's
it's going to be exciting.
9 single attempt obstacles with 3 or 4 bands, depending on who you are. Which means there's still a chance to not complete. So they'll be ranked. Is that how?
Be ranked, but not. So if you do lose, everyone will finish. Everybody will finish. We'll be encouraged to finish the course, regardless of whether you have your bands or not.
Good. The
championships will be won, and the podiums obviously will be won by those with bands, and then it will be ranked from that point afterwards. Yeah. So everyone will see their finishing times, etc. So it's still worth pushing, still worth getting yourself through, and you'll be able to see what's going on. But yes, the championships will be won by bands.
It'd be good to talk about timings, not just of how long the race will take, but how many people, how often, who's first, who can we watch, that kind of thing would be interesting.
Yeah, so we've drafted our waves today. So we actually drafted the specific waves, if you like. Obviously, booking's still open, so that will still be room to adapt. So we're not announcing the specifics. There has been some communication already on sort of start times of age groups, start times of open, start times of elite, start times of para. So that's already been communicated and is in the rule book again. So first waves are from 9 o'clock. I believe let me quickly just make sure I'm not talking rubbish. Yeah, 9 o'clock is the beginnings of the men's age group. So we'll go through all of the men's age groups first. It will then be women's age groups. We'll then hit the para waves. Then you'll see men's elite, and then you'll see women's elite. Wave timings, we've capped the waves at 10 per wave, and they'll go off. Currently, they'll go off every 10 minutes, but it could change. So I don't want to commit to that definitely, because it depends on the overall numbers come race day, because obviously the registration is still open, so we may condense. But at the moment, there's waves of 10, up to 10 every 10 minutes.
And
Bigger gap between the elite and the para wave, so we're trying to get all the age group and paras through, and then the elite waves go off separately.
And you can see in the course design that obviously you put a lot of thought into the start and how many people are suitable for that. But do you have any insight into like some of the other obstacles in terms of like, I'm just thinking if I go into a pipe crawl or whatever it's called, and I'm stuck behind someone, I might get like a little apprehensive. You shouldn't.
There's plenty of lanes. There's lots of lanes for everything. And the way that the waves are set, it shouldn't hit queuing or anything like that. There is a yield policy in the rule book. So if you are approached by someone from a wave behind you, you're expected to move to the side and allow them through. Obviously, there comes a point where if you're stuck in a tube, there is an element there which is they have to complete it to get out of the way. But by the way that we've designed the waves, the way that we've designed the course, and the way that we've designed the layout of the course, we shouldn't see that. But there is a yield policy in the rule book, so definitely read the rules. Everything is detailed pretty well in the rule book. We'll also be doing some video in the week coming up to the event, and then there will be obviously on the day we have our MC, so we have Stuart Amory attending as the MC for the event, which is really exciting. It's really good to have him. Who will obviously have information at the start lines. We'll have people on site, and obviously we've got technical officials and marshals all over site as well, and they'll all be briefed and have the information. So there's no reason why anything should be like that. But yeah, there is a yield policy. So if there is people coming from the wave behind you, you are expected to yield. Other than that, there's obviously only a limited amount we can do if they're stuck in the tube and you're coming in behind. But there are 3 lanes, and you shouldn't find that.
Race them to the tube.
Yeah, race them to the tube, exactly. But yeah, I'm not expecting that, to be honest.
Cool. No stone left unturned. Love it.
We hope.
Well, it is a championship after all.
Exactly.
National 3K championship.
Exactly
age group, elite and para.
This is it. That's why we tested as well. We've had all sorts of tests happening over the last sort of 4 or 5 months or so. We've brought groups in. We've done sections of the course, not with obstacles in place or anything, but we've done lots of timings on things. We've had groups run round at different start wave points. We've done different sizes of groups running. So yeah, we've had lots of testing going on. Forders being a gym and having lots of members has been pretty useful for that. So that's been it's been a big bonus. So yeah, everything that could have been done has been done. I'd say that.
Now we all know what it's like when you get a racer who does a race. They always seem to place the obstacles in really strategic places. And looking at the way that it's set out, it's going to test you in different ways that way.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, like I say, you can see it straight away. There's very much a feel of strength at the beginning, and technical in the middle. And then there's kind of that balance to the end, but it's definitely a run towards the end. There is sections of each in all of the course throughout the course, but yeah, you can definitely see, you're hitting a good third of the course is done before you're hitting any sort of real sort of challenging technical obstacles, which will obviously thin waves out. Currently, we're trying to run waves smaller than 10 as well to help us with that even more. So we can run 10, and we tested it with more than 10. And it's been successful, but we're trying to keep it manageable. So we're trying to spread it as best as we can. So, like I say, we've done the things that we can do to try and prep that, and yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing it now.
I think what's really exciting about this race is like no one's done it before.
Yeah.
Like it's not often that we have a race, particularly at a national level, which no one's been on the course before, or even like been on the terrain, or been there, visited to another race or a different brand there or whatever. Like it's a
totally new
concept
for everybody. Yeah, exactly. And that's like a massive advantage from their point of view, from Forder's point of view. Like they've done it right. they've planned it correctly. They've got the facilities in place, and exactly. You know, the original plan, we were looking to run events in spring. You know, so there's not been a rush to this. It's been done properly. It's been done with real thought. I've been involved with these guys now for about a year, so it's been a long time coming. You know, of lots of time in, lots of work, lots of money, lots of investment, and it's been done in the right manner. And it's done with the right intention as well. And I'm really excited for these guys with what they're bringing to the OCR community. It's only going to help our community and our sport as well. But like you say, as a race, not a single person has actually been on this course and raced on this course. So with the exception of the test runners, obviously.
Yeah. It's difficult to get buy-in sometimes with like a brand new thing like that. So like respect for kind of getting all this information together, and hopefully there'll be some more last-minute sign-ups as well, because it does look like it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. I think there's one thing as well which probably hasn't been as it's a new addition that we're making as well, which is not necessarily as well known at the minute, which is that they're actually between after the open waves at 1 o'clock. From around about 1 o'clock, I want to say 1 o'clock, but it's going to be approximately 1 o'clock. But about 1 to 2:30, we're going to allow any racers that have got a wave band, from competing in the event, to go back out on course and run some extra laps. So after their event and the event is over, we're going to allow everybody who's effectively competed in that event to then go back out and run some more laps and practice again, or you know, maybe have another go at that rig that they failed. Or because I'm quite conscious as a coach and as a trainer that you do this at championships and stuff, and then you never really get that opportunity to go back and kind of, what did I do here, what could I have done, or you know, learn from that. And so we want to make sure that that is an opportunity. So from around 1 till 2:30, we'll open the course up to athletes that have competed to go back out and either just run some laps for some training, or go out specifically to have a look at certain rigs and try and practice a little bit, and give everyone that opportunity, you know, to enjoy the course again, but also to maybe go at it with a different mindset and just try things in a different manner, which will help them for their development, take that into winter and work on them things. You know, if it's the same thing as catching them out when they go out and practice, then they can now go away and work on that over winter and come back to it later.
I really love that idea. It is definitely all about getting the development in the UK, and we really need to practice on these more technical obstacles and work on things all the time. And I've seen that happening a lot with everyone's sort of training, where everyone's training at the moment. You see it at the PT barn and down at Wild Forest. You can see them adding new elements that they've been doing in Euros and things, and adding them into their training. It's really good to see, and it's going to make us better when we come into these larger competitions overseas.
Well, that's it, mate. You know, and obviously I was out with you guys out in the World Champs, and you can see it, can't you? You know, you can see people have failed certain things, and now they're coming back, they're working on it, and they're gonna push better. But what I noticed, which was quite a stark contrast for me, was the difference in the ability in the UK athletes over the last 2 years. I'd say since COVID, the ability since the time trials maybe kicked everyone into gear from the technical practice point of view after COVID, and then the difference to now is huge. And it's only going to keep improving and growing when the opportunities are put in front of you. So if we've got a national championship course, we need to not just run a national championship, we then need to use that opportunity with that course set up to then give everybody the opportunity to go and learn, go and develop, and go and get some more out of it. You know, it's free K. It's free K.
It's good value for money, and also I think it doesn't just apply to the people who are going to race internationally. It's the people, this is their first race. They don't go home going all deflated because they didn't keep their band. They're like, oh well, I don't really know what that's all about, but I got to have another go on it, and I learned how to get onto the next one.
Exactly, that's right. Exactly,
the development again,
and that shows you where forwarders are at as well, because it shows you their mindset is that they're here to stay and they're here to try and help develop as well. So by giving everyone that opportunity, that highlights the important, you know, what those guys are like. And then from my own point of view, I'll be on site, so it's likely that I'll go out on course and I'll try and help people as well. So from a coaching point of view, I'll be able to maybe help people as well. So it's a win-win.
It's the same with us athletes. We're going to be, after the race is done, we're going to be out on course, and we all love helping each other. And it's great to learn new techniques from everyone. Everyone's always everyone's got a different aspect on how they approach things, and it's always good to see how they do it.
100%.
I could learn lots from other people, and that helps that bond between like age group and elite, or like learning from the para people as well.
That's it.
There's loads of good things to take from it.
That's it. So that's why, as an event, it's bigger than just the 3K race. You know, it's a really important event, and it's exciting. And I think anyone that doesn't attend it will miss out. I do really genuinely think that. I think there's going to be a real. It's going to be one of those events that happens from time to time where it really feels special. You know, and I think if you're not there, I do think you're going to miss out.
Thanks, Dave. So let's go on to the runners and riders. And Dave, I asked you if you'd want to talk about those, so I'll let you make your picks later on if you want to.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the elite female first. Becky, let's start with you. Relatively small, but it's a stacked field.
Small but mighty. Yes. Currently, but like we've just said, FOMO is strong. Currently 6 elite females. I'll go through the names in a moment. That's currently about 27% of the female field, which I guess is a fair representation of other races. So there are definitely more women who are not racing elite. So don't worry if you're kind of wondering if that's everyone in the UK. It's not. But I will be there. We've also got Imi Hales, probably one of the favourites, or if not the favourite. I mean, it's just a list of favourites, really, isn't it? Federica Di Correa, national champion at the longer distance. Karen McQuarrie also podiumed at the national championships just a month ago. Libby Joyce of OCR WC fame and international extraordinaire, and Shai Dehaney, who also I think had the fastest 3K time at the World Championships for the women, faster than the elites, and also I think faster than Imi. So I mean, I don't know how we're going to predict this, because also the athletes have different strengths and weaknesses. I think the best all-rounder probably is Imi, and she showed that at the OCR games. She has the strength, she'll have a fast start, she's got the sprinting ability, and she's a ninja. So I really don't know what's going to stop her. She's returned from injury just recently, so I think she's had less training, but she's been being careful and well rested. Whereas Fede will be coming from Sparta, doing the Trifecta World Championships, potentially slightly more tired. But she is used to training big weeks, so I don't think that will phase her too much, and she'll still have a good week to recover. Karen's been traveling all over the country to take part in loads of races, including she recently came to the junior championships and won the Swanbourne Endeavour. And Libby, of course, is super strong on the hills, is really agile, really nimble. She'll benefit from some of those things like the crawl, getting through the pipes. That might not slow her down as much as the adults. And of course, she's excellent at the technical obstacles and has loads of exposure to that over years of experience. And Shai basically never fails anything. So, and just picks up everything mega quickly on the first try and does not give up, as we know. So I don't really know what to do. If you want to enter the elite race, it's going to be a race. I think it's going to be pretty neck and neck. I think that, there'll be some strong people at start. I think Fede and Imi will go out ahead. Karen's really strong carrier as well, and Shai. But I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
It's going to be a really interesting race. Yeah, so I was just looking at the names there, and yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting race. Like you say, Imi definitely is a strong favourite, obviously after performing at Worlds, and you got Shyla. Her obstacle game is off the chart at the moment, and she's just putting in the hours of training. She's really, really working hard, and I think the short distance is going to suit her quite well, especially with the strong carries and things. I mean, she's going to put in a bit of a surge on that. But so Karen McQuarrie, she's had such a really good season so far as well. So it's going to be tight. But there's only five of you there, so there's still spots for 5 more. It's going to be good to see Fede as well. Fede got a little mention on Race Brain as well this weekend. Yeah. Although they got her where she's from wrong.
There's also, I believe Louise is intending on signing up as well. So I believe she's in that mix as well. So I don't think she's signed up yet, but I believe her intention is to sign up. So that's another one that will be added to that mix as well.
great
down at
specific
nuts.
skills, great specific skills. Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Well, down at nuts, she had one of the fastest times, so she's
Mm,
always a
okay.
huge contender. But what's their training like? Because aren't they heading over to Hang On Run?
Mm.
Yeah, so like obviously my lot, the Rumble guys, they're all doing
And
a lot
Shy.
of grip endurance. Yeah, so Shyla, Louise, they're doing a lot of grip endurance at the minute and a lot of rope work, which will actually probably lend in quite well here because of the skills on the Rumble rig in particular. But obviously things like even just simple things like rope traverse, they're doing a lot of rope traversing at the minute because Hang On is a lot of rope traversing. So in their training, they're just doing a lot of it. So it's just little things like if you're pulling out 5-6 seconds on a rope traverse, it makes a difference in a short course like this. I think it's going to be really tight race.
You've got to attack the obstacles. I think that's going to be a big part to play in the women's race, like it always is. Maybe people will be more aware of that in the 3K. But if your forearms are burning because the obstacles are so close together, then like you've got to make that decision. Do you go now? Do you go in 10 seconds time? Like, do you go in 1 second's time? Because that does actually factor more into the women's race, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a huge endurance element, really. Even though it's only 3K, it really does taste your endurance on your arms. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other little details in the course as well that just catch you out that little bit more. Like, so you've got obstacles 7 and 8, for example. There's a sled pull, a sled drag, and then a tire flip. This is technique and strength is a big factor here, but also so is the grip endurance, because that grip endurance has started before you've hit the technical section. So
that's right. Yeah.
It's not just going to be about when you get to obstacle 10. You've got to be able to move smoothly and fast through the strength section without blowing out your arms and stuff, rushing.
The weather does factor into that too. Like, even if you think that the obstacle isn't that hard, your forearms might be colder, or you might be over gripping because it's a little bit damp.
Yeah,
you're actually fatiguing faster.
Do you know what as well? That's a really good point, because it's something I picked up on at the World Championships, is that people's warm-up is not effective. People are not doing effective warm-ups. They're going into these 3K courses where you're heavily hitting rigs and lots of obstacles one after another, and people haven't warmed up effectively, and you almost get to the end of 3K and now you're warm, and it's too late, so and in a colder environment, it's going to be more and more important that people take their warm-up seriously.
So will there be a space in Forders where you can do a bit more of like actual grip warm-up?
To a point, I think the intention is to have a zone designated for it. There's a Deca Strong event happening at the same time, so there's a lot going on in and around the facility. But I think the intention is to have an area dedicated to helping with warm-ups. But there's certainly a lot of room on site for you to do a normal, a standard warm-up that you would normally do. But yeah, I mean, it's something which I believe is on the agenda for the village, if you like, the event village.
Yeah. I mean, we've got. Go on, Will.
You go, Becky. Sorry.
I was just going to mention a few other women currently in the age group category who probably do have excellent grip endurance, who we can expect to kind of do well in terms of keeping their bands and everything. I'm not sure about the speed, but we've got like the ninjas, including Lindsay Young, although she's probably going to be doing things a bit one-armed still. Beth Lodge, Ninja Warrior champion. Alex Arndt, who's also pretty fast, so I expect she'll have one of the fastest age group times. Charisma Baskyfield, one of the young ninjas. Yeah, that's mostly the ninja names. The rest are OCR people, but I expect they're going to have really good kind of technique and endurance. Although maybe not used to the potential weather aspect.
Yeah, I feel like this for those girls, are this is very much one of those chances for them to gain some of that experience for the future. And I think you're right to point them out, because I think that there's a lot of potential there for this distance. You're seeing a lot of crossover. You're seeing the same with the men as well. There's a lot of crossover from the ninja community in the 3K course. And I think you're only going to see more and more of that as they gain more experience in the outdoor sort of environment.
Yeah, and similarly, that there's people in the age group race who are really good at the strength aspect. And so it's not like the people who are good at the ninjas aren't going to do the best necessarily. Like, if everyone can do enough of the obstacles, and then there's going to be other people who can really excel. Like Emma Kirkwood will be really great at the agility and the running parts. Whereas like Rachel Brown will really be really good at the strength aspect of it.
Yeah, Leah Smith is my zone athlete. She's really good with the functional fitness, and she has done some OCR bits. So, you're going to see some really quick times from different areas of the course. I should have put zones on, shouldn't I? Should have segmented it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll try and find a way.
Next time.
You could make
just
Strava
go back-
segments.
Yeah.
Strava
Yeah, I could do.
segments.
We'll come back to that Strava segment, actually. Just talk about some of the map. I find it interesting, Dave, that you've kind of gone 7 to 8, which is kind of those strength. Then there's a bit of a run, and then you're going into the balance beam, which is the single attempt. And I know Becky would have been smiling about the balance beam, but the way that you've described it, how long it is, we don't, as an OCR team, don't do enough balance. And actually, if your heart is already pumping by the time you get to that part, balance beam can actually be a little bit harder than what you would expect it to be.
Oh, is that it?
There you go.
Oh.
We've just had our eyes on the balance beam, if you couldn't tell. It's
Yeah, so
round.
you're getting in my head a little bit, Will. You're starting to see how I work now, right? So putting it in the middle of a running section where you are going to get the heart rate up, because it's a running point where you're going to have to push the run, and it's lots of switchbacks on that run. It's not going to be a nice smooth, you're going to have to work, and you're right to point it out, because it's a single attempt obstacle, so it's really important, but it's also it's right in the middle of a zone where your heart rate is going to be up. You've just come out of strength, and now you're running.
And there's a transition between the two there, with some horrible beams on the floor next to them. Be careful.
So you've got a beam that goes uphill, if you like.
Incline.
There you go. That's a better word. An incline, then over a gap, and then a decline. So it's a challenge.
These balance beams look like they've come straight off like a horse show or something.
Yeah, mate.
They're basically what a horse
Don't
jumps
bring up the
over.
horses.
Honestly, mate, like, I can't speak highly enough of Forders and the design and the build team, because it's solid. It's proper investment. It's proper obstacles. They are over-engineered.
You're going to see that.
Go on, Will. Sorry.
I was going to say, you're going to see that particular obstacle in about 50 years' time on a Mr. Mouse course, and it's still there hanging on. It looks that solid.
It's basically telegraph poles, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 telegraph poles that you've got to traverse over. Are they likely to get slippery? What is the paint that they've been coated with?
It's a tar paint, so it's a protective paint. So it's not. No, if anything, it's actually it's very good actually at getting the water off.
I know that wood like that can get a bit slippery at times.
No, and because of the type of course that it's on as well, where it's on the Astro, it's also really dry. Like, you haven't touched any mud before you've got there, so you will be clean-footed unless you walk onto the course with caked shoes. You'll be in a really good position from that. We've had it in. It's been in on the course for a while now, and I've tested it a few times, and I've hit it at slow speed, fast speed, and it's never been me slipping that's been a problem.
We all know what Rumble's like for balance. So
you know what I'm like for balance. Like, I'm terrible. So if I'm getting across it's either through sheer practice. I've probably been over it 1,000 times. It's a good beam. It's a solid beam. It's a decent width, but because it's rounded and because
that's important.
It's definitely important. And then because it's inclined and declined, and there is a start and finish point, so you cannot just jump from halfway. You have to cross the finish point before you leave the beam. It's important that balance is something you've taken seriously in your training, and if you haven't, then this is an obstacle that can easily catch you out if you don't give it the respect that it's due.
The other bit that I just wanted to quickly move on before we move on to the men's, you was talking about the run up to 15. So there's that long incline. Then you've almost got but then you've got that run into the descent, and then is it straight into a rig after that? So again, your heart rate is just going 10 to the dozen, and then you're into that finish, 18, 19, 20, 21, where all the mud, the endurance from getting up that hill, almost finishing, so you're 2k in, and then you've got the rig, and then that muddy bit to do. Whoever's going to be finishing, they're going to be absolutely shattered. And if you've lost the band, Jesus Christ, you've still got a couple of course to do as well, and that 300-meter extra penalty loop.
That's it. We wanted the penalty loop to be like, I wanted the penalty loop to be a challenge, and it has to be a fair time, but it's not to the point where it's it's not 5-6 minutes to do it. It's a fair time, I believe. It is a penalty, but it's a case of you can work hard. You can push yourself on this. It's not just a straight run. There is crawls, but again, hard work can get you through it. It's not race over, but it's going to cost you kudos points in your lungs and breathing and work effort, to do it. And you're going to have to work hard. So if you come off of it having lost a band, get a penalty, do the penalty to redeem your band, and then place it somewhere in them podiums or anywhere near, you've done really well because you've worked for it. There's no doubt about it. Like you said, like everyone will work and everyone will take something from this course, from their working and battling to get through it. But there is an element of the penalty, without a shadow of a doubt, is a penalty. But there's an element there that if you're willing to suffer and work hard, you can put it back, no doubt.
So
I think the whole race will be like that. You've got to suffer and work hard. Really.
It's an absolute red line the whole way. I want to talk about the 3K OCR Championship for the Para. So following on from the British champs last month, we now have the 3K Para. We've got 4 contenders there. So we've got Dylan Darby and Jamie Gain, who both podiumed in the British champs. But we've got 2 new contenders as well, or new that didn't take part in the British champs. We've got Chris Harris and James Rudge. So again, just going to be absolutely fantastic. It's great to see more names in OCR, never mind OCR Para, but OCR altogether. So, good luck to the 4 of them.
Yeah, and I mean, Chris came to Worlds. Chris Harris came to Worlds because he was intending to compete there, but he had a knee injury, which had been troubling him. I think he had lots of scans on it and things. So he's been kind of really wanting to get back into it. So I'm excited that he's on the start list.
Yeah, I believe James Rudge is a para climbing athlete as well, isn't he? Or something like that. Yeah, so I think he's really, really strong. So it'd be really good to see him over these obstacles.
That is going to be a really interesting four-person wave there, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Chris, let's go over to the elite men's. Over to you.
So we've got a really good start list, actually. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 elite males racing. So a really good start list, probably going to be set down into 2 waves. I'd imagine Dave will split that into that. So you've got Alex Young, David Tucker, Fergal Kenny, Gavin Hogarth, Humid I'm going to really butcher that. So I will leave that one out, actually. Jack Carpenter, James Pickman, Jesse Betts, Morgan Maxwell, and Tommy Matthews. Really good to see some names back, like Jesse Betts. He was a past winner of the age group European Championships back in Holland. So, although he's been doing a lot of high rocks lately, it's good to see him back racing in some OCR. And, we all love Jesse. He's been around the block a bit. David Tucker, a bit of a rumble athlete. He's going to be a good person to watch out for because, he's got this gymnastic background, and I'm sure Dave's been giving him some knowledge of the course and things. And I think just Fergal Kenny is going to be out there, and hang on a minute, Fergal Kenny.
Yeah, Ferg was one of the fastest athletes at the 3K at Spartan 3K. So he does have that speed and aggression over the obstacles, a bit like Alex Young, who's also done really well at Nuclear Fit. So he does have that strength and is used to practicing short courses at.
It's good for Alex to be stepping up as well because he's done a lot of age group this year. So it's nice to have him back in this sort of thing. Sorry, I thought Fergal's name was spelt wrong on my thing. That's why it was putting me out a bit. It was like Fergal Keedy. Yeah. So, but Ferg's coming back from Sparta as well. So he's going to be either tired or not tired. Jack Carpenter's racing, and he's been putting up a lot of these Torres rigs down at Field Fit. I've seen him putting some new stuff down there. So I'm sure he's going to be up to the game. And Tommy Matthews, we've got the 100-meter legend. So, I think he's really trying to get back into the 3K and getting a bit more experience in it. So although it's still new to him, I think he's going to be a real contender on this 3K championship.
You did say your name on there, Chris.
I don't like to say my name.
There, but you're
also there, yeah.
Competing.
I am there, yeah.
Also excellent at the 3K at the World
Yeah.
Championships,
Yeah,
I
and
am.
Nuts Challenge, and
I
one of
am
3K
suffering
favourites.
from I have had a bit of an ankle issue, so I haven't been able to put in a lot of
Okay, it's
volume in the running,
AstroTurf. It's AstroTurf.
which is the only sort of saving grace. I have popped up to Nuts to try and get a bit of a sharpening session and almost rolled it again. So I'm going to try and get another sharpening session in and hopefully not roll it, and we'll see how we go.
Shall I give you some good news? And this, I don't know if this is good news. The all the grass sections that we use at Forders, we roll them. So
Oh my god, magic!
yeah. So don't get me wrong. It's not a carpet.
Becky's swooning here.
It's like the opposite of Spartan.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a carpet, but it's they
strange.
get rolled. So we're looking at trying to minimize injury, if you like,
Fantastic.
and maximize speed. It's a 3K course. We want speed and we want people to feel confident. So yeah, so the grass version is are rolled. So
That's definitely good for me and Gavin, because Gavin's had a bit of a struggle with his ankles lately as well. So
Gavin's ankles are about as glass as mine are, mate. So.
Yeah, and I think
Literally
that's where
everybody.
my left
That's
one's
the
going.
issue. Everybody's like that. So it's silly if we just take out all the athletes by just putting on things for the sake of things.
I'm not saying to don't before put the caveat on that.
Okay.
Still, you need to be aware of what you're running on. You still need to pay attention.
Oh,
But
I'm well
it-
aware.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is.
I almost rolled my ankle on the treadmill the other day. It's that bad at the moment.
Yeah, I literally
You
throw on
know
a
what I mean?
third chain and it's gone.
Yeah. But yeah, we do put some thought into that. So we have actually rolled the fields a few times. Obviously, it's been a lot very wet though, so that has made some
That
difference.
makes it softer and
It does, yeah, it does soften it down. But yeah, and they'll also be cut fresh as well.
It's going to be a bit of an interesting shoe choice as well, because obviously if
Yeah.
you've got that flat stuff, but then you've got that real heavy mud at the end,
Proper as well.
you're going to have to take that into consideration. It's not easy to be running a flat sort of race with some especially some of them balance obstacles, and
Yeah,
then
like-
hitting that mud at the end. It's not
Even-
going to be easy.
even the material, like some of the things with the bigger lugs are worse on like a ramp or worse on a balance beam. So you've got that 4.8 meter if you're a metric gal like me, or 16-foot wall with the rope, of course, but you don't want to be scrambling around on your slippy shoes because you've got massive lugs on, but then you do want those for the mud. But then what's the trade-off? Maybe gonna have to bring a couple of pairs with me. Fortunately, I have more than one.
Chris, what about any age group athletes out there that kind of catch your eye?
There's loads. There's some really good names. Hang on, let me just get my list back up on my new computer.
He's showing off now. No
I know.
notebook.
I know.
It's
Are
tough
you
Those
to
were
doing
read.
sheets
notes?
as well.
He's written notes in cells on a spreadsheet. Everybody, this is a big step forward.
But I didn't. I copied and pasted what Will sent me, and then I put it on a spreadsheet. But I'm down with the kids now. But age group wise, we've got some really good names. We've got Chris De Stefaniano, ninja guy, really, really good. You've got Adam Taylor, and I don't know if anyone knows, but Adam Taylor hasn't really done an OCR for a while, and it's really good to see him back. He's been doing a lot of sort of like strength stuff, CrossFit stuff, so he's really strong. And I think that aspect of the strength side, he's going to do quite well. So that's really good to see him. You got Chris Lamb. He's a super fast 800-meter runner. He might struggle with a bit of the technical obstacles, but he's over 800 meters, and anything other than that is really, really quick. One of the best sort of
national
runners, isn't it? Oliver Addy, we can't rule him out. I think if it didn't have a heavy element to the race, he'd definitely be a contender for actually an overall win. His obstacle game is off the charts. So, he's a really good racer. And then you've got some of the older guys, Jason Wright, he's going to be battling off because he's got his nemesis. Who's his nemesis?
Rich Jarvis.
That's it, Richard Jarvis. I was looking for his name. Escaped me. Yeah, so those two, they're like an old married couple. We saw them down at Worlds, and they were like sitting in the hot tub, just looking lovingly in each other's eyes. But I think they're quite rivals on the racetrack. So it's good to see them. Yeah.
It is stacked on that as well. There's other names in there. Mark Somerville's fast, very good, very effective racer. He was up at top.
There's a couple of names I didn't recognise, like Benjamin Emerson.
Yeah, there's a few. To be fair, there's a few new names that I've not seen. There's a few guys from the fitness area as well, from the fitness.
That's what I was
backgrounds.
expecting to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how they do, because I can see a few more ninja guys in there, like Aaron pulling as well, and Hayden, but and also some kind of longer distance races like Jonathan Fletcher. We've got people who practice regularly at at Nuclear and things, or at Rumble, or at Field Fit. So
Yeah,
lots of people who are
Ramsey.
prepared. Yeah,
Ramsey's there. Yeah,
but
no,
I'm
it's
really interested to
good.
see how people pick up OCR, like if this is their first kind of competitive OCR, or they've only done a couple of fun ones for fun. Yeah, see
It is
how
interesting, isn't it? 'Cause
how it affects all the OCR races as well, like even psychologically. If you've got somebody ahead of you who's from functional fitness, you have to work harder to get on the balance beam, and then put yourself under more stress when you're starting a technical obstacle, not knowing how they might do. It's quite a different race.
And is there going to be age group podiums?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's age group
Yeah.
podiums as well as the elite podium as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, like Ollie Addy, racing age group, he came almost basically fourth overall, racing the junior category, but like nearly as fast as the senior elites at Europeans, although they're slightly adapted course because of the weights for the junior category. And it makes sense, he's 14 to 17 have a lighter weight for this race as well. So it makes total sense that he's racing age group there because of the weights, and that's exactly what it's designed for. But he definitely has the speed and the technical ability to, in the future.
Yeah, if anyone
be
wants
going
to see
straight
something
into the top.
really good, yeah,
Yeah,
they go watch him
second in the
race
world,
because it's really
100
good.
meters. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. With sunglasses, I might add.
Yes, he does need the sunglasses.
Does he? Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Any
Awesome.
predictions? Oh my god, we're going to do predictions.
Well, this is something I was going to ask
Good
Dave,
luck.
because it was something like, wow, and I think it goes back to, I guess, accountability's corner in terms of what is it? What's the word I'm looking for, Chris? Come on, help me out.
I don't know. Accountability.
The abilities, the scorecards.
Oh,
when you
the
points.
yeah,
Like top jumps.
yes, yeah, I'm losing it as well.
I think points.
I've gone completely
Where's
blank.
Darren?
I can't think of that bloody word. But this really, Dave, this really looks like you have to be an all-rounder. Even though it's short, there's the endurance aspect of it, especially kind of uphill, downhill, those mounts. There's a number of rigs in there. There's the strength element in there. So you've got to be an all-rounder. Now, I'm going to put my name out there for the female. I think Karen's going to get this one. And I'm not the one that normally does any predictions. Karen this year has come on leaps and bounds through when we've been talking about OCR series. So I'm just going to put the pressure on Karen. I think she's going to go for it. I also think Shy is almost come out of nowhere this year. We did not talk about her at all last year, and yet we talk about her a lot this year on Who's Hot. So I think she's going to place really well. I think in the men, Gavin. I think Gavin's got this in my eyes. So there you go. There's my prediction, guys. For a change, over to you.
You going, Becky?
Well, the elite female field is so small, and I'm in it. I don't know. I think Imi is the favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd agree with you. I mean, she has got the speed at the moment. Well, she has just come off injury though, so you just don't know
she can
sometimes.
pull this out the bag.
Yeah, she's very strong. I mean, when we ran
athlete.
with her, she was super quick. But you can't rule out any of that top 5 for the women. It's going to be so close.
6 horse race.
6. I'm in it as well.
I've got you in there, Becky.
Libby,
7.
Shy, Karen, Imi, Ferdinand.
Oh, and Lou, yes, Kevin.
And Lou.
Yeah, Lou's.
Kevin.
I can't pick a third.
I think Fedi's a great all-rounder. She races track every week. She does 60 to 80 kilometers every week. She's doing her strength sessions once or twice a week. She's doing her technical skills every week in like a high intensity environment, like with other people in a kind of almost race scenario, and has experience racing like in lots of different kind of styles, and really knows how to push hard. Like her heart rate is always like 190 when she's racing, or like high 180s. So she knows how to like fight for it. And Shy is fierce as well. Like she will not shy away from the competition, even when you're like next to her on a rig. Like you can feel the pressure.
Men's is the men's side any easier to predict, Becky?
Like Jack's been focusing on 3K this year, but I think Morgan is going to be wanting a bit more of redemption. I don't know whether he feels like he's switched off for the year or not. What do you reckon? But I feel like he's going to be kind of out for, like, he always is obviously trying to win, but I feel like he might have some added motivation. I don't know.
He has just spent a week boozing it up though, on holiday, and eating Kit Kats. No, I'd put Mo probably as a strong favourite, and then probably Fergal.
Yeah,
because his performance at OCR Worlds on the 3K and the 15K, to be fair, but his performance on the 3K was outstanding. You know, he's put a lot of work in on his technical obstacles, and you know, I saw him on Instagram the other day, and he was doing some new sort of moves that, you know, he's obviously
for this,
specific for this. Exactly. So he's training with purpose. So he's definitely going to be a one to watch, and probably up there, either first or second. And I agree with you. Go on.
He'll be analysing this rule book as well. He'll be thinking very carefully, very strategically, like go there, warm up well, practice like in his brain, plan everything and leave nothing to chance, I reckon. Yeah. He'll know everything about everyone else as well.
The only downside is the coming back from Sparta this weekend, because Sparta is a 3-day race thing. So, you know, he's got 3 races. You know, it's gonna take it out of anyone. And whether or not he's recovered enough to put in a harder, because 3K is still a hard effort, you know.
For sure.
So that's the only downside to him. I mean, Fergal, Mo, definitely 1, 2. Alex is always a strong contender. You know, he's always going to put himself in the mix, and he's always, you know, if he comes from a big family of, you know, really strong races, I don't think there's a single person out there who's doing well at the moment. So he's definitely a contender, but can he get to the top?
You're gonna have to run the race, see who.
But me,
everyone else just like fight for it. I think it's be whoever's the most sort of, not aggressive in a bad way, but the most who wants it most.
I don't know. Sometimes it's not about being aggressive in the 3K. It's about being smooth. So
that's true. Yeah, like.
But the trouble is with the heavy carries at the start. Then you got the technical bits. Everyone's a little bit out of sharpness from, you know, racing a long season. It's going to be a tough one.
I'm going to go sharpen up the week off. Don't worry.
I think we all. Well, that's the beauty of it. I think everyone's doing that now. Yeah. So that makes it just that harder to pick. I mean,
Spa Mike's gym, perfect. Do you have heavy tires there, aren't there?
They have heavy tires, yeah.
Any thoughts, Dave? And anything that you'd like to add, or do you want to keep your mouth zipped on this one?
No, I'm with these guys. I mean, it's difficult to pick. I think that you can make a case for different people for different reasons. Like, so it's hard, isn't it? Because you go through it and there's no way of doing it without feeling disrespectful towards other people's racing, because there's so much talent there that you could pick so many people. I think if you rule people like Tommy out, it's silly, because he's so good technically that in weather conditions that potentially could be hard, you just don't know. Like, he knows that his running isn't on par with some of these guys on the list, but they've got to get through, right? They've got to keep their bands. And this is all part of it. And so there are so many ways you could look at these lists and think of it in a race. For me, I look at the lists and I think form matters. I think people that are on form, racing regularly, training regularly, haven't switched off for the season, have concentrated their training, is a big factor for me. And I think the second thing is preparation. So it's interesting with Becky touching on it with people like Ferg. Like, this is something you really have to analyze, understand the rules, look at the course, assess how it's going to be, what shoes you're going to wear, and what your strategy is going to be. And I think the people who are on form and prepared the most will be the ones and racing regularly. So they're fresher, sharper. I think they'll be the ones. And for me, if I looked at that, that's when you've got to look at, for me, I think with the balance of the course, as well as those things in mind, I think in the men's, I'm thinking that, I think Chris, you're definitely in there, in that mix. I think Gavin, I think Ferg, I think Morgan are slightly maybe standing out ahead of to the others for me, slightly. I think the winner comes from those 4. But like I said, you can make a case for the others. Jesse's running really well at the minute. He's doing really well in high rocks at the minute. He's going to munch up the strength elements of this course. has he got that technical practice and ability? That will be the interesting factor. But I think you can't rule him out. David does not race regularly, but when he races, he is very agile, very technical, very rarely makes mistakes, and will go until he throws up. So I wouldn't rule him out on this sort of course. You know, there's so many ways that you can look at it, but for me, I think your winner comes from Gavin, Chris, Mo, and Ferg. I think I put Ferg just outside of it, but only on the basis of Sparta. But I think on form, Ferg is really high up on my list. Then the women, I think again, Imi stands out for me as a strong, very strong contender if she's over her injury and confident. I think Shyla is a really good all-rounder, and over 3K, I think it suits, especially on Astro, because you're not necessarily relying on the technical running as much.
Football intervals help.
Exactly. But again, I think that list is so tight, you can make a case for any of the women on there to do well. I think it's actually harder to pick from the women's list than it is from the men.
I think it's more narrow for probably
I think you're right.
People.
Yeah, I think the margin is much tighter. Louise is training very hard, hasn't really stopped from the season. Gets most obstacles done, very rarely fails nowadays. So I think it's a really interesting, and like you said already, you know, Karen's done well. Fede is, for me, she's the one who's on form. So again, will she be tired? That's the issue potentially. But she's on form, right? She's running really well at the moment. So I think the women's is really tight. So it's difficult for me to maybe pick, but I do think the men maybe is that little bit. I think it's coming from those four. I think Morgan is always good over 3 kilometers, and for me is right up there. But I think Chris, you hit the nail on the head when you said about racing smoothly. I think too many people see 3K as an aggressive race, and it's not aggressive. It has, you know, you can be in certain moments, but you have to really pick that. And I think it's planned, strategic racing, smooth, so that you can push when you need to, as opposed to maybe pushing the obstacles and then realizing you now can't run. So yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be tight.
And as I guess as the last word, that's why I like the nuance of the race and the way you set it out. There is nuance there. It's not about all out attack. There are times when you just got to be a bit smoother, take a little bit of time, and then there are times when you've just got to go for it. So I love how you've put that race out. So guys, thank you very much. Of course, Chris Shipley at Obstacle Race Dude. Thank you, Becky Neal at the Runner Bean UK. Thank you very much for being my elite racers as always. Thank you, Dave Peters, who is the RD of British Champs. You can see him, find him on Instagram at Dave Peters 86. You can also find Rumble Fitness, who he is the head coach of Rumble Fitness _UK. Probably where you'll probably see a little bit more highlights and videos of the obstacles ready for the British Championships. If you haven't already and you would like to, then you can go sign up for the British Champs. There is the Championship Wave, the age group wave, or the open waves that you can take part in. Go to britishobstacle.org. The cost is only £45 plus fee. It's at Forders Gym, which is just south of Birmingham. It's going to be next Sunday, the 12th of November. Thanks again to everyone. This has been the preview of the 3K British Champs, going to be at Forders Gym, Sunday, 12th of November. But that's all from us, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Ta-ra. See ya.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways.